So last night was the quote fight of the century between Mayweather and Pacquiao, and Mayweather pretty much dominated the fight if you look at the stats. But when I posted this on Instagram, there was a lot of comments saying that Pacquiao won, the fight was fixed, all sorts of stuff. And I started thinking, oh my God, like these people are delusional, A, but B, there's so many great stock market lessons from this fight. So I wanted to make this video. Before I get to the lessons, real quick, I just have to mention we are in the final few days of this 50% off birthday sale. I'll put the link below this video and you can save 47, 54, 49% on different newsletters, especially these two newsletters by these two young guys, Triforce Trader Daily. This kid is named Matt. He made $600,000 in 2014, $100,000 already in the first few weeks of 2015. In Investors Corner, his name is Connor. He made $300,000 trading from school in 2014. Pretty crazy stuff, and now they teach their strategy openly. Superman, I mean, he's already up over $1 million this year in 2015. I'm having a pretty good year. I'm up over 50% on trading with a very small account in a few weeks. And now we have also an FX newsletter, which, people are loving the FX products. For a while, I thought that all FX was a scam, but I met this one guy and, he has the numbers to back it up. So as much as I hate FX, we're still offering his newsletter. So save big on these newsletters and also these DVDs. These DVDs are all 50 to 70% off. My How to Make Millions DVD, 35 hours, everything I've learned, $297. Before you say, oh, Tim, you just make DVDs to make money. I don't make a dime off this. I spent nearly 4 months working my ass off on this DVD. It's now raised $500,000, all for charity, and I'm very proud of that. Spikeability is my newest DVD. We've delivered the first 3 hours so far, so it's still 50% off. All of these DVDs are 50% off. I only bring them up because I want you to take advantage of these sales before they're over. When this sale ends, I know I'm going to get a ton of emails from people who are like, oh, Tim, just extend it a few more days. No, this is your final chance to save 50 to 70%. Take it or leave it. But going back to this Mayweather-Pacquiao fight and the lessons, they are incredible. Number one, hype. Mayweather is perhaps one of not just the best boxers of all time, but the best hypesters of all time. He delayed this fight basically for several years until the payday was worth it to get everyone's anticipation up. And then, he's going to bank like $150, $200 million off this. Whereas if it was 2 or 3 years ago, he probably only would have made like $50 million. So congrats to him on being a master hype artist. This is very similar to VLTC, which is a very hype-filled stock. I was buying this in the 2s and the 3s because billionaire Carl Icahn was buying it. He's like kind of like the Floyd Mayweather of billionaires. He has a very good track record, not a perfect track record, but a very good track record. And he bought 52% of this company. And I thought with a billionaire invested in this company, it has a chance to really spike when more and more people find out about it. The beautiful thing about penny stocks is that, there's a delayed reaction. If Icahn had bought, 50% of a billion-dollar company, everybody on Wall Street would have known on day one because CNBC, Bloomberg, Wall Street Journal, Street.com, everybody would have reported on it and everyone would have known. But because there's this hatred of penny stocks, kind of like this hatred of Mayweather, despite the stats that penny stocks are easier, despite the fact that Mayweather is undefeated, there's a bias against trading penny stocks. So even if you found out that Icahn bought, you don't want to buy because you don't want to trade penny stocks. That's the thinking in most people's heads. And that's a mistake. And that is why I took advantage of it. I was buying it in the 2s. Had no idea it was going to go to the 20s. I thought that it would go from the 2s to maybe the 4s or the 5s. I thought that it was overvalued in the 6s or 7s. So I underestimated the hype. But I was on the right side of the formula. I made nearly $10,000 on the way up, selling too early in the 3s and the 4s. It just kept going. So congrats to a lot of Trading Challenge students who actually did hold from the 2s and the 3s to the 7s, 8s, 9s. One guy held till 13. He put in $1,000. He came out with 7,000. That's pretty freaking awesome in 2 weeks. But I would never bet on it going to 20. This is something that happens maybe once a year at most, or twice a year at most. You don't want to bet on these kinds of long shots to happen. But it's pretty good money when a billionaire invests here and you can buy it low. And then I also got my short off here at 1787. Again, covered too soon before it dropped, 50%. But again, I was on the right side of the equation, knowing when it had gotten a little too crazy. My latest stock that I'm long is CELH. I was buying it here on the dip in the 230s. It's now in the threes. I'm not expecting to go to 20, but I would love a retest of 350 or anywhere in the threes. I have solid profits again, and this is because the world's 17th richest man, Li Ka-shing, is invested in this. They make this new energy drink, which is actually like clean energy. They just turned profitable. They now have 17 million in funds. They also have Russell Simmons, but Li Ka-shing owns the largest beauty retailer in Asia. So you got to think, if a billionaire is investing in this energy drink that supposedly is going to help you lose weight too, and they have medical studies, so it's not total BS, you got to think that Li Ka-shing is going to sell it in his retailer. So that deal is probably around the corner. They just signed a deal with World's Gym or Gold's Gym and Vitamin Shop and stuff like that. So I'm not saying this is going to go up huge, but I understand how hype works, and I understand that this has good catalysts. So, this is a stock that I think is going to go higher, and that's why I'm long the stock. So don't hate on hype, okay? Just accept that hype exists and take advantage of it, because people hate on penny stocks. When there is good news or good catalyst, it's going to take a long time for more people to realize it. One sec, guys. I got to pause for 1 second. Secondly, I want to get to how Mayweather won. If you look at the actual stats of the fight, you can see here Mayweather actually threw more punches. He landed nearly double the punches. His connection percentage was nearly double. He won on jabs thrown. He had nearly triple, or actually more than triple jabs landed. Nearly triple connection percentage. Power punches thrown, at least Manny Pacquiao won one category, but even the power punches landed. Despite throwing less of them, Mayweather had nearly double the connection percentage. So overall average per round, Pacquiao was 12 of 36 on his punches. Pac-Man was 6 out of 35, double. Okay, that is why in my Instagram post, I said he dominated Pac-Man. And I said, look at the punch stats. These are not, an opinion. It's not controversial. It's not debatable. These are actual, punch stats. And if you look at every category in a non-biased way, despite what you think about Mayweather outside, and again, I don't condone his outside the ring behavior, but if you look at the stats specifically, he does better. He dominated Pac-Man on every single category except for the jabs thrown or something, but he connected more. So look at some of the comments, and there's hundreds of comments, but this is funny from Samuel. Bullshit, he decided the judges, the ref, the building, everything. He hugged Pac-Man more than he hit him. He was running like Forrest Gump. He can't read, and he beats more his wife than Pacquiao. You still appreciate him as a fighter. Fuck his money and everything. He's not a true champion. Actually, so what if you decided the judges, the ref, the building, everything, okay? He landed more punches. You say that he was running more than Forrest Gump? That's his fighting style. It's annoying. I'm sure it is, but it's how he fights, and it's how he stays undefeated. Here's another comment. Money buys everything, even a perfect record. Here's Maureen, who says Pac dominated. And these are just a few of the delusional comments. So how did Mayweather win? He won based on stats. And I can't help but see the similarity, because I have a lot of haters myself. I don't beat my wife or anything, but I'm kind of an ass about my Lamborghini and my trips and my millions. So I understand why I have some haters. But if you look at my stats, which is what I teach, which is really what I should be judged on, but people love to bring in outside influences to try and determine somebody's character. Guess what? I've been making roughly $400,000 a year for the past 5 years. Okay, I've had some bigger years, I've had some smaller years. I'm trading with a small account. For example, in 2015, I'm already up 50% plus, but I'm trading with a small account, so that's gonna hurt my overall money average. But it's more useful for my students. Let me just go over my 2 biggest trades in the past 5 years. EKSO long, I made $70,000. If you watched me on the TV show Below Deck, you would think I'm a total asshole. The way they edited it, we made the crew take out the big, what is it called? the big slide to go down into the water, and we didn't even use it. Guess what? We all went on it. We loved it. I treated 6 of my challenge students, paid roughly $10,000 each, and of course we're going to go down the giant water slide. But the TV show wanted to make me look like an ass. They say, oh, look, he's the Wolf of Wall Street, penny stocks are evil. They didn't show this trade at all, despite having it all on camera, which is a shame. I should probably buy the rights to that footage. So you can see how I made $70,000 even on a $12 million yacht with little to no Wi-Fi, which they promised me in the beginning that they would have. So I didn't even sell this perfectly. I bought it in the 5s, correctly predicted that the hype would keep going the next day. I sold it in the 6s. It went to 8 an hour later. So I did not time that perfectly. Same thing with CNTO. I was shorting a pump and dump, just like I always say. I actually made a video lesson for subscribers before I even traded it. And I said, look, I think this stock is going to be a potential short soon because this is a pump and dump and it's the first red day. Classic pattern straight out of my DVDs. And I said, look at this. Reshorted as I think this is the beginning of a big crash, 30 to 70% this week. And I said, same pattern as this. And I even linked to a pattern with live trades that actually the pattern did work out. And I made nearly $70,000. Had I waited another day or two, it would have been about $150,000. So I didn't time either of these perfectly. This $2 million is not best case scenario by any stretch of the imagination. But my stats are specifically positive. And if you ignore those stats, you want to say, oh, I'm a dick, oh, it's penny stocks, oh, it's impossible. You're ignoring reality, much like the Pacquiao fans are saying Pac dominated when he did not dominate any statistic except perhaps he dominates in his faith and being a nice guy. Fan favorite, again, I'm sorry that I trade penny stocks. I really am, because there is a severe bias against them. It doesn't matter how good my strategy is, doesn't matter what I teach, doesn't matter how many millionaires I create or how many millions I make or how many trades I show ahead of time. Penny stocks will never be a fan favorite, okay? Because they are dirty in nature. Many of them are scams. People get manipulated, mainly just because people don't understand them. There's a huge problem with misinformation where many people get burned on penny stocks because they've only heard about them through email touts, and those email touts are the exact worst things that you should listen to. You should do the exact opposite as an email tout, and then you'll understand penny stocks. But long story short, statistics matter, okay? If you want to be a millionaire, if you want to make 5, 6, 7 figures starting with just a few $1,000s, well, guess what? You have to turn to this much maligned little niche because there is so much opportunity. Shorting a pump and dump like CNTO, where most people don't want to touch it. Buying stocks like VLTC, where Icon is buying, and the news is easy. I don't have to predict Icon buying. The news is already out. I just have to know how people will find out about this. Just like CELH, how people will find out about Li Ka-shing when he probably announces the distribution deal, but the writing is already on the wall. So a lot of people say, oh, you shouldn't be buying CELH. It's just a pump and dump. Well, why is the world's 17th richest man investing in that? Huh? Tell me that. Riddle me that. Why do you think so? Because he's going to probably do a distribution deal, whether it's a week from now or a month from now or a year from now. The writing is on the wall. Statistics matter. And then fifth of all, the best stock market lesson is that the stock market is a letdown, okay? For all of the millionaires that I create, there's going to be a lot of people who don't make any money because they don't follow the rules. They let their losses run. They don't pay attention to the right catalyst. They're asking questions about random stocks. They think that all stocks are created equally, and they're not, okay? What I know and what I've made my money on is that I focus on very specific catalysts. When there's a pump and dump, I like to wait, especially when it goes up too much, and I can short it, and I know it's going to crash. When there's a stock like VLTC, when there's a billionaire investing, I like to buy it. I've bought several of these in the past few weeks, and I've been right every single time. Or earnings winners or contract winners, like I was buying GLUU the other day at, 638, and it now touching 7 again. So nothing huge, but when you wait for specific catalysts and specific trades to happen, you have an advantage. But if you try applying my rules to just any old stock with any old news, especially not penny stocks where the market is more efficiently priced because everybody knows everything, then you're going to be let down. So I'm not going to say, oh, I'm not going to create millionaires. A lot of people say, Tim, you shouldn't promote the millionaire thing. You shouldn't promote the whole get rich thing. Why? That is what's possible. That is what you should strive towards. And that should inspire you. Me, my top millionaire students, several of my trading challenge students who are now up 6 figures, we're not special. We're not geniuses. We're not great at math. We don't trade together like, some other people do, which I think is disgusting and very unethical. A lot of my trading challenge students, they don't even trade the same stocks as me, okay? We all have different patterns. We all find what works best for our own personality and our own characteristics. But it is possible for anybody, man, woman, child, in America, Asia, South America, Europe, Antarctica, if you have to. As long as you have an internet connection, it is possible for anybody to become a millionaire. And I am going to promote that to the dying day because it is true, and you are seeing that more and more with my students. It takes time. It's not going to happen on one stock. So I don't want you to be let down. I want you to realize what is possible. But I also want you to realize that, guess what? You're going to have to study your ass off. I don't want you to think that this is just going to be easy. Oh, get Tim's stock picks. Oh, let me click, and I'm a millionaire. You're going to have to want it. In all of my posts with my Lamborghini and my trips and my cash, they're meant to inspire you, to help you want to study, because you're going to have to study my video lessons and webinars. Tim Grattani, who's now taken $1,500 of his own money now into $2.7 million in 4 years, do you know how hard he works? Do you know how much he studies? Do you know how many spreadsheets he has looking at every single one of his strategies? Michael Good, my first millionaire student, also has tons of spreadsheets. They look at everything. They analyze everything. And that is the secret to their success. So if you want to be successful, you're going to have to work for it. If you want to be like this, where you're making $70,000 in a day, you got to work for it. If you want to be perfect, like Mayweather, you got to work for it. I don't suggest you do what he does outside the ring, but inside the ring, he is a genius, and you got to give him props for that. Give props to anybody who finds success in a specific field. They have worked their ass for it. And I think that's, the stock market lessons between Mayweather-Pacquiao and penny stocks. I know it's a weird title for a video, but it actually works. So follow the stats, ignore the biases, and make as much money as you can so that you can live a better life and, provide for your loved ones. That's what it's all about. Thank you guys. Have a good rest of the weekend.